All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm delighted to bring you a three-peat baby for the third time ever. The fourth time ever a guest, but the third time ever a repeat guest, Mr. Ashley Jones.
Hello, thank you for letting me come here again.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. I think I can speak for everyone.
Also very persistent. Did not hold up.
No, but they kept messaging us.
I've been desperate to get back on it ever since it got over 100 views or whatever it was.
Yeah, we're booming now. Ash's trying to hold on for his meal ticket.
If you guys are making the money, I want to get in on this.
Yeah,
ground
surprised.
floor, I get it.
I will suck dick for this.
Do you know what? That takes me right back to season one when I was offering out
favours. That's
exactly
exactly where we were when we were unabashed and
do you know no one's cashed in on my offer of a hand job from season one yet?
I'm shocked, to be honest. I thought there might be one. We've got a lot of people listening to us all over the world. Surely there's a
I would have thought at least like 5.
Problem is, you give them out too easily anyway, so
that's a fair point. You have devalued them massively. You flooded the market.
But talking of weird sexual acts in times of pandemics, football. That's what we're here to discuss.
Absolutely. As everyone knows, Ash is our football expert, our correspondent.
Yes.
He has his ear to the ground and his nose on the white lines, and he's here to give us all of the gossip.
Yeah, well, I try. I mean,
you're like one of those in the know accounts, but not a cunt.
Well, the things I have to do for the news around here, it's getting pretty degrading.
I agree.
I know the things Daniel Levy made you do last week. Shocking.
Speaking of degrading acts, let's talk about the Euros, because it has been a while since we last did a football podcast, and quite frankly, that's because it's not been safe to be in a room together, as horrible as that's been. But it is now, so we're here, we're in the studio, we're back at it, and guys, I want to get your thoughts on one of the biggest events for quite a while.
Yeah,
Euros.
Eurovision. The football. The football, we're here to do the football.
Yeah, so guys.
I think we did as expected in both, didn't we? Eurovision last, no points.
Well, yeah, I don't know if we did as expected in the Euros.
Well,
I feel like we went a little bit above.
We didn't expect to win it.
I don't know. I think going into the Euros, the general expectation was that we were going to go right up until the end. And then I think we achieved our expectation that we didn't win.
I see England like United. With Southgate in charge, they're not going to win anything.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to lean towards that, to be honest.
Well, we are progressing. That we made 2 semi-finals and then a final. Like
but my
and to be honest, there's no shame in losing. Italy were unbeaten in like 40 fucking games, and we lost on penalties.
I will absolutely concede to that. That's a fair point. And
Yeah.
Mancini's done an amazing job at Italy. But overall, I think one, we have a better squad than theirs.
Yeah.
But secondly, both of those times we've got to the end of a tournament, so we got to the semi-final against Croatia. In both games, we were slow to react to the fact we were losing the game, and like we had the final in our hands. We're 1-0 up.
Yeah.
Italy started to dominate, and we waited till so long to react. In fact, I think we didn't make a sub until after they scored, and it was just for me. Both of those games against Croatia and Italy, it felt like
poor game management.
Yeah, Gareth Southgate got it wrong on the night. Had a good tournament overall, but got it wrong when it mattered.
I mean, we did have easy routes in both tournaments.
Oh no, no doubt in that.
I mean,
we didn't come up against anyone decent until the semis or the final, and then we lost.
But we should have won the semi.
Denmark was a sort of weird one because obviously with the whole Christian Eriksen thing, which was desperately sad, they were sort of spurred on by it. It felt, but obviously other than that, I think Italy were probably the best team we faced throughout the tournament.
I think Italy, I think Italy were the best team in the tournament. I don't think anyone. The fact that they were unbeaten in like 30
I don't know. France were the best team in the tournament.
In terms of, you're talking about overall squad, yeah.
No, not squad. In terms of performance, the way they played, the overall.
I think it's
the deserving. I think they deserved to win.
Yeah, they did. On the night, they were the better.
Not just the night. I think across the tournament.
I don't know. I think once you get to the final, it's different though. And I think we had a strong tournament.
It's one game, but if you look at it as a whole, I do think Italy.
But also, I think overall, I think again with Southgate, going back to him, I felt throughout the tournament we were constantly questioning his decisions. Like, why was Trippier at left back? Sterling started.
Bro, can we just address that here? How many fucking right backs does one squad need?
I don't know.
Too many.
Like, to be honest, I love Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but I think overall he's not as good as Reece James or...
he's the best defensive right back.
Yeah, but he's then not got anything going on.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka for England is sort of like a guy called Reece Hanam at Palace, where Reece Hanam is a young up-and-coming left-back playing in the under-23s. And when I've watched the under-23s a couple of times, he's easily the best player on the pitch. He's such a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
But left-back is the one position we don't need anyone at Palace.
Well,
and
no.
then same at England. Right-back is really the one position we're sort of
but
okay
the
for.
problem is we've got like Reece James, who I think is pretty much the same age as Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and in my opinion, overall, a better wing-back. I think if Aaron Wan-Bissaka had been around 15 years ago, he'd have been the best English right-back.
I think on his day, I think for me, it's
best defensively
Alexander-Arnold
but
as overall.
I'd say attacking. He's not very good.
He's not very good defensively, but to be honest,
he can get found out. But in terms of what he brings to a team, like he comes up in the big moment.
Yeah.
If you play in the right formation and
if you need goals,
like for me, Liverpool with the two fullbacks they have in terms of the crossing ability, it's just.
I'll tell you who
would be shy if.
I'll tell you who was a revelation at that tournament for me, because I never really got on the bandwagon for the season leading up to the Euros. Calvin Phillips. I thought he had a great tournament.
Yeah, very good tournament.
Because when he got picked, I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I was like, and starting? I was like, oh,
exactly
hard to know about that. But actually, do you know what? He was one of our better players.
Had Henderson been fit at the start of the tournament, he wouldn't have started any of the games.
No, probably
he would
not.
have been behind Henderson without a doubt. So he just got lucky and took the opportunity to be.
But that's sometimes what happens. You know, look at one of the greatest English legends in the game. The Jeff Hurst.
Yeah.
He was only there because Jimmy Greaves got injured, and R.I.P. Jimmy Greaves.
Yep. Yeah. Desperately sad.
It's a very sad loss. Cause, he had not really been in the public eye for a while, but as a player, one of the greatest goal scoring rates. You know, before the likes of Messi and Ronaldo were doing it, he was doing it, and and then obviously as a personality on TV, Saint and Greaves, he was a great partnership. And I also think there's a great, I don't know if you've watched the BT Sport film about Jimmy Greaves.
No.
Really good watch, but there's a bit that I always really loved. I thought that just is brilliant. So he was obviously playing at Chelsea, came through in that cool 60s era, and it was like, suddenly it's cool to be a footballer and you can go up the trendy clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was just a goal scorer, that was all he's in the team for. And then he moved to Italy, and he rang back. This interview with one of his friends from Chelsea, and he rang me back, and he said he was like, I don't think we're going to make it. He said they actually want me to defend as well.
Yeah, it sounds about right for
I love it
back then. Yeah. But going back to Southgate for a moment, just to sort of finish on it, how do we feel about him going forward? I know how I feel. And I felt this in the heat of the moment after the loss instantly. I think I was the first person in the group chat that was like, Southgate needs to leave.
Well, let me ask you this, because my view is that I think Southgate's done a really good job. I think we're historically, even when we've had great players, great groups of players, we've been average as a team.
Yeah.
I think he's taken us to a level where, all right, we had some easy routes, but he's taken us to semi-finals and finals, which is something I never thought I'd experience as an England fan in my lifetime.
No, that's fair.
And I think, off the pitch, I think we can all agree his handling of things like the racial situation has been second to none.
I'll give you in terms of how he's handled
his composure, not just in, and to be honest, not just for the racial stuff, but for the on the field stuff, his interviews and stuff. He's always very composed. He's always very in control and very intelligent. But because you're both on the idea that you've already said you don't think we're going to win anything while Southgate's in, and you want to.
It feels unlikely.
Who comes in?
That's the issue. I don't know. That's the problem. I say get rid of him. I'm not even saying necessarily get rid of him. For me, it's the same as I said with Ollie. Like, there's not enough evidence there for me to go, absolutely, I think he's going to win us a tournament, because sadly, they both had opportunities to prove they can win silverware and have failed. Yep. And for Southgate, like I said, both those occasions were down to bad bad game management in those moments. So for me, he's given me more evidence. Like, he's got all that amazing stuff, and I think for that he should be kept in the job. But there is still that caveat for me that he's come up short in the big moment.
Yeah, we need that manager that's going to take us to the next step.
So who do you think is that manager?
Well, I'd like it to be an English manager, but there's not many about right now.
But
we've got Eddie Howe.
And the only reason I wouldn't get
that's
rid
what
of
we
him,
really need is a PE teacher.
The only reason I wouldn't get rid of him is because, like Ash, I'd like it to be an English manager, and I don't think there's any obvious choices that wouldn't be the same as a Southgate-esque manager in terms of they're still up.
Let me ask you both this, because I know this is my belief on it. Do you think English managers should be doing more what English players should be doing as well in looking for opportunities?
Absolutely, they absolutely should.
And do you think there's a kind of stubbornness from English managers who are like, they just won't do it? They'd rather manage here?
I think it's part of our culture more than anything that we don't like acclimating to anything else. We like what we know. So to go to other cultures, it's why famously when our blokes do go abroad, most of them don't do well. There's only a handful of exceptions like Gary Lineker or David Beckham, and I'm sure there's a couple of others. But
yeah, it's quite a few down the years, I would say.
but in general, and again, there's only been a handful of our managers that have gone abroad and done really well. But yeah, I think they absolutely should.
Well, Eddie Howe turned down Celtic. I don't know why he did that.
Oh,
I thought that would have been a
to be
brilliant
honest,
move, but
Yeah, no, but then he'd have had to live in Glasgow.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I think overall Rangers have a far better team than Celtic, and although they have
Do
a
you
lot
think
of
that's
money,
down
they
to
don't have
Gerrard, or do
enough
you think
to-
that's down to the...
I think Gerrard.
Setup.
I mean, to be honest, I
there
know,
we go, Gerrard.
I don't like Gerrard as a no, not yet, not yet.
No, he's going to Liverpool.
Yeah, he's definitely being Liverpool manager.
Lampard's
at some
free.
point. No,
You know,
I thought about
Lampard,
historically for
Like, look,
England, if
I
you
feel
can't
like-
get Gerrard, you get Lampard.
I feel like a slight hypocrite because I wanted Lampard at Palace for a short minute. And that was more than anything because I just wanted us to have a young English man or a young manager that we could build something with, and we've got that now with Vieira, but definitely not for England.
Maybe.
But going back to what you asked me about Rangers, I think Gerrard has done really good business there, and I think they've been very smart with their transfers, to be fair.
He needs to sort out the back line, though. Goldson is
Yeah.
so bad. He's so bad.
But
How
then,
he's playing for Rangers, I don't know.
so
Luckily, he doesn't have to come across great opposition every week.
It's true.
But
He gets away with it.
while sort of Liverpool's on the subject, one of the things I wanted to talk about as well was there's a lot of talk at the moment, and it came from a conversation some people had online about whether Pep is better than Sir Alex, and we can have that talk as well if you like. But it then went to, well, is Pep even better than Klopp? And there's a lot of people arguing that Klopp is a better manager than
It's
Pep.
a very-
and I thought it's an interesting.
It's a
chat
very
to have.
difficult discussion to have because neither of them have particularly managed anywhere shit. I know Klopp kind of started at
He
like
did at
Mainz or whatever
Mainz,
it
yeah.
was.
And to be honest, Dortmund weren't big when he
And
took
Dortmund
over
weren't
at
big,
Dortmund.
but they weren't. Basically, I think if Pep had have managed and won the league with someone like Atletico Madrid, someone who's up there but not the dominant team, not Barca or Real,
Yeah.
then they could have been compared because that's kind of what
But nor
yeah.
were
he did with
Liverpool when he
Dortmut.
took over
Right,
there.
and for me,
No. We
weren't
Klopp's
even in
never
Europe.
had
but they
a
were
club.
up there.
And
No,
Klopp,
we weren't even in
No,
Europe.
but they have been up there.
and Klopp's
As
never had a club unlike Pep, and he still doesn't have it at Liverpool, where a club is built around him. Every decision that was made at Man City from the time before they hired Roberto Mancini was with the long-term aim of having Guardiola as their manager. He has staff there that are just, as we've seen from like documentaries, that he just vents at. That's the man's job, is just to sit there and get yelled at by Pep Guardiola.
Pep's got unlimited resources as well.
Yeah,
Everywhere
exactly.
he's
Like
been,
they can
so-
afford. Like how many mistakes have they made with signings under Pep? Loads. I mean, we won't even talk about the Mendy thing because there's all sort of legal ramifications to that.
Yeah.
But like, if you look at all of like, they've had to keep just 50 million on this player, 50 million, because they keep making mistakes. And like, and then for me, when he choked in the Champions League against Chelsea, to not play Fernandinho in that game was just criminal.
Well, I think just to make the quick, just to quickly do the comparison between Sir Alex and Pep.
Yeah.
I've always said that Sir Alex's greatest skill, and it's hard to be replicated because you need longevity to replicate it. But his greatest skill was they never had a period of transition.
Yeah.
He was always bedding in new players, and little new, so they were
Well,
always
like,
strong.
and like the thing is,
Pep has not done that. When he's lost Aguero and when he's lost Fernandinho and the likes and company, okay, company's stones, but not as a leader. He's not been bedding in
should
a
have been
leader.
kept on as a coach or something. He should have been the assistant manager to Pep or something
But
like
I just
that.
think Pep
He could
has
have been a
not.
player coach.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Pep
Yeah, he
has
could have played
not.
10 games a season. He'd have been happy.
Yeah.
There's not been necessarily a period of transition, but there has been like a period of overhaul. There's been key players that have been lost.
Yeah,
that
but
have
that's the
not been
difference.
replaced.
He doesn't have. He knows ultimately if he signs a player and they don't work out, it doesn't matter because the club can afford to take the hit and sign another. Whereas with Sir Alex, I'm sorry, you look at some of his squads for like massive games, they'd have players like John O'Shea and Park Ji-sung at centre midfield, and they would win. And it, you know, for me, it's not even a like.
They've also
like
had some
people
wasted
say about
signings.
longevity for Sir Alex Ferguson, but if we're honest about Pep, every club he's been at, had he wanted more time, he would have had more time. He chose to leave Barcelona because, let's be honest, their squad was starting to age and it was going to go through a transition, and he fucked off. He then went to Bayern. Again, he could have stayed there as long as he liked. didn't win the Champions League, and now he's come to Man City. He's got as long as he wants at Man City,
Yeah.
and he still hasn't won the Champions League.
Like I said with Sir Alex, is you need the longevity to get his greatest skill, but his greatest skill wasn't the longevity; it was constantly changing the squad.
He was not afraid to cut anyone from the team, and Pep has been the same.
He knew when he had a
career.
It was almost like watching a great chess player. As soon as a player came in for Sir Alex and he had a great team, he knew, what have I got with this team? 2 years, 3 years? So straight away I need to be working on his replacement. He's going in 2 years, but he's not going to be at the best. So I need to work on his replacement. So he was constantly doing
I don't think I've ever really seen real player improvement under Pep, and it's difficult because, to be fair to him, they sign players
at their peak.
the top level.
Yeah.
So to see, but like, he managed to get Aguero, or I don't know whether it's him or Aguero. When Pep first got there, he wanted Aguero out, didn't he? Because he's famously not a hard-working striker, but he seemed to survive. And I don't know whether that's because Pep coached him or probably. But I don't personally like. Whereas if you look at Klopp, he goes and signs a player like Andy Robertson and turns him into a world class.
When he brought Ronaldo, I thought that was the biggest waste of 25
and
mil of my life.
he was a solid player for you guys.
A great signing.
I think you guys miss him this season, to be honest, a little bit.
He's not doing great at PSG either.
No, but then neither's Messi, really, is it?
No one is.
To be honest, I think that's just to touch on it. I think that was probably what everyone was expecting. He was never going to be quite the same.
There's too many superstars.
Yeah, there is. To be fair, all the Barcelona fans are like, "How did he manage to get the numbers he got last season?"
And also
with his team.
Take aside the stuff.
That's why.
Take aside the stuff on the pitch, off the pitch. He's not had to move for like his entire adult life.
No,
he has been in the same. He's been settled.
Yeah.
Now it's all uprooted.
Yeah, he's
so
been
there's
at
a
Barcelona
lot of stuff.
since he was like 12 years old or something ridiculous. So he's been there his whole life, near enough. So what do we think about Ronaldo coming back to the Prem?
I'll let our correspondent handle this because I know my views.
To be honest with you, I really wasn't expecting it. And what I feel has been a little bit disingenuous is the Man United fans acting as if he wasn't about to join Man City. Yeah. The reason he didn't join Man City was because apparently he had a conversation with Pep over the phone, and Pep told him, "I'm not guaranteeing you anything. You know, you're not guaranteed to start." So he was like, "Well, fuck that." And
that's not in his DNA.
No. So what do you guys think?
But I'd love him to fail as a Liverpool fan. I really want him to fail. And I find it funny that United are calling him the Messiah and he's going to win it all for him.
Yeah, and I feel like it's already unravelling because since didn't they lost
to West Ham
in the cup,
and they lost to Young Boys in the Champions League.
Yeah,
I know.
so
I did.
Still not
I think my view is on I messaged you and I said I don't like when players and managers go back.
Yeah.
There's only two reasons a player or a manager should ever go back, in my opinion. One, to end their career. They're right at the end and they just want a nice sort of sentimental closure. Two, there's unfinished business.
But as there isn't. He won everything.
Sir Alex and Ronaldo, between them, made sure that there was a good sense of closure and he left on good footing. So there's no reason for him to go back. But then for me,
I think he is doing it to end his career. I have a feeling he's going to retire at United. So I think.
I still think he's got a good. Maybe year,
I think
2 years.
I think he plays till 40.
Football.
I think he plays till 40. I think he wants to be at the top level.
He wants 40. That Teddy Sheringham record.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's also doing it because of the headlines. He loves being in the limelight.
And United have a huge global reach in terms of promotionally and marketability. Yeah. So it's big for both of them. He'll make shitloads of money. They'll make shitloads of money.
Well, the thing is, if he goes back and they win...
And to be honest, 30 million, I know he's 37... I don't think that's a bad deal, and he's on half the money he was on at Juventus.
Well, given the current status of transfer fees,
I think that's a reasonable fee. But I mean, United in general, if we talk about them quickly, they've got a good squad now. There isn't really any excuse not to win the league.
I would fear them if they had a decent manager.
Well, that's the thing. I think this is the season where if he doesn't win the Europa League or the Premier League,
Champions League.
Or Champions League.
You think they're going to get knocked out group stage?
Probably. I don't have any faith with them in the Champions League, to be honest. But I think unless he gets something
that's such a huge insight. I don't even think they're going to win the competition. They're not even in yet. I know they're going to drop into.
But let's be honest, I don't see them doing that, even with the squad they have. They have Varane now, who's one of the best centre-backs in the world.
He's with Maguire, though. So.
Let me ask you this, though. Two questions. The first, obviously, you've both expressed that you don't think Ollie's going to win anything. But are you
Well,
able to give credit to the fact that of his unbeaten away record?
No. Mainly because
Well, that answers that then.
no, I'll tell you for why.
Please
mainly because
that is what we're
most
here
of
for.
those games came when there was no one in the stadiums, and everyone knows the record of
So
when
because
fans
there's no
weren't in
one like
stadiums.
booing them or anything, you reckon that gave
Well,
them a
if
bit
you
of
get
a
the
lift?
home crowd behind you,
Well, I think
it
as
can
well
change a game,
Yeah, no,
surely
it's fair.
also the other argument is against that is that, and we've already seen a little bit of it. I think is that nice reference is that refs tend to give more to the big teams when crowds are in.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
like
I think it's changing a bit now though with VAR and stuff because stuff is getting overturned. And I think just to touch on that wasn't one of the things I wanted to talk about. But don't you think it's improved
until
this season?
until last weekend?
Oh, hugely.
I feel like in general the games flow more. It
That's
feels
a lot more.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
feel like
that's a lot
it's a
better.
step in the right direction.
And
I'm
we're
not saying it's
getting
perfect.
At the point
But
of
as
people listening to this will have had first overseas referee in the Premier League as well.
Okay, that's good.
But
yeah.
I mean, last weekend VAR had a shocker.
I don't think I saw that. What one was it?
There was 2 penalties in the United West Ham game that should have been given.
Oh no, see, I didn't watch Match of the Day.
One
that
for
week,
each
so
team.
Yeah, I didn't watch Match of the Day.
I feel like there was a red card.
I feel like you're never prepared for an episode. You did watch the SpiderMan films when we were going to talk about Spider-Man. You haven't watched Match Today. We're going to talk about the football.
Look, let's be honest for a second. At time of recording, there was 7 Spider-Man films. I watched 5 of them. No, sorry, 4 of them.
Yeah, anyone listening wouldn't have known that based on what you said.
I honestly thought you just walked in there and he's like, "We're talking about Spider-Man." You're like, "What? Sorry."
No, it was actually my idea to talk about Spider-Man.
But no, to give Ollie credit where it's due, if he goes this season unbeaten away, then he gets credit for
Like,
it.
to be honest with you, just as a neutral, and I did used to follow United, but I don't have any real affinity towards them now. But I liked the story of Ronaldo coming back more than anything because I wanted to see how he would do in
I
the Prem.
really, really loved the oosh from the crowd when he did his celebration. I did quite like that.
Yeah. But it would be nice to see Ollie prove people wrong because I like an underdog. But I don't know. I feel like they have an embarrassment of riches, but it's not quite right.
I want to also ask you both about what do you make of the newly formed Conference League, UEFA Conference?
I don't really know a lot about it. Or
It's
just
basically
the idea-
another European.
Yeah,
league.
it's just another.
Is it below the Europa League?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's for what, people that finish 7th
It's
or
for
8th?
teams like
Well,
Tottenham.
it's for predominantly teams in other.
Ash throwing shade.
But it's for teams predominantly in other leagues that don't really get a good, that never qualify for the Europa League. They always they have qualification spots, but they have to play qualifiers and they never win.
Oh, right,
So it's kind of for them.
It's to give them.
Yeah,
But
it's for the
some
people
of
that always lose.
But some of the big boys do have a spot, and it is for teams like Tottenham.
Well,
Yeah, but
offense,
so
Tottenham and
it's
Arsenal.
basically like a reserve league, basically.
Yeah.
It's,
If you win it, you
also
go into
ran.
Europa League next year.
yeah, so no one's going to
So
give a
what
shit
do we
about
make?
it.
So what do you
Well,
make of it?
I mean, Tottenham will because then I'm going to.
I don't know. Who knows?
They won't
Tottenham
care
fans
after they
are
get
first.
knocked out.
They're first.
Roma
aren't
are in it, so
they? To be honest,
Exactly.
I think
Jose.
Tottenham are the equivalent of a mid-table team now. To be honest with you.
yeah,
That's how I view them, even with Harry Kane there. Because to be honest with you, this is an unpopular opinion, although I think Ash does agree with me. I think Harry Kane's a fraud.
mate. The problem with Harry Kane at the moment is, for some odd reason, he's gone into this role of playing deep line playmaker, and he just can't do it.
Yeah,
And he's not as
changed.
good at it as others
No.
are. Like, it's
Well,
just-
he's a forward.
Yeah,
If
he
you're
just needs
playing
and
FM,
also, what's he known for? His natural finish ability.
Yeah.
So let's stay out of the box as much as
Yeah.
possible.
If you're playing FM, you've got him as a poacher.
All of
or
us
a
were
pass
going
forward.
mad during the Euros watching him just sit on the halfway line.
Drove me crazy. And
yeah.
then when the ball should have gone into the box, he wasn't there.
But part of me starting to wonder because I don't know whether Sterling just did it naturally because Harry Kane wasn't going in the box, but it felt like during the Euros it was part of a system that it was to allow space for the guys to run on, but I just don't see why you would do that.
Because Sterling does it at City. That's
No.
what he does at City. So,
But yeah, so I think Harry Kane's a fraud.
well, I mean, I'd like to see him play in his actual position.
Are we then directly comparing
Before-
Southgate and Pep?
No.
Similar systems.
No, I just think Sterling ignored
I've-
Southgate and
To
did
be
what
honest,
he
I
does.
think Southgate plays too negatively. I think for the ability
Yeah.
we have overall in the squad, I don't think we need to play 5 at the back.
No.
You know, I just don't think we
It
need
doesn't
to.
work for us.
No, and
it
they're
just-
players like Sancho who are not even playing.
And also,
Bellingham not really getting.
Perhaps
Yeah.
if we didn't play 5 at the back, Harry Kane would have more numbers in the midfield and be less likely to drop back. That could have been one of the problems. But yeah.
The thing is, I don't know if Harry Kane's taken it upon himself or Jose taught him to do it.
Oh,
Because
do you know what? I feel a little bit.
What's brilliant about Spurs though is that Nuno's got them playing more negative than Jose Mourinho had them.
I don't know what it is about Jose Mourinho because most of the time I dislike him, but I finished watching the All or Nothing documentary because I had a few episodes.
Couldn't make
left.
it through that, to be honest. The Tottenham one.
It was a hard
No.
watch.
I can't
At
wait for
end
the
of
Arsenal
it,
one.
I ended up feeling quite sorry for Jose because just watching it, you could tell like how passionate he is about it and how you could see what he wants to try and do, but for whatever reason now it just doesn't work.
The problem. Go on.
Sorry, I remember when he got appointed or heard he was going to get appointed by Tottenham, and by the way, that was embarrassing in itself because they offered it to about this time round, didn't they? They offered it to about 10 different people.
Yeah.
But from the minute I heard they were linked with Mourinho, it's like, well, that's not going to end well.
No. The problem is the way he used to have teams playing was brilliant.
Yeah.
Back in the day, back in the
That
the
second
late
spell at
noughties,
Chelsea killed him.
Why do we
Yeah.
think it doesn't work now, though? Is
It's
it the
more
fact?
attacking. Football
Yeah,
in
so
itself
you
is
can't
more
get away
attacking.
with sitting back as
Yeah.
much, unless you've got the best team in the league, and in which case you can soak it up.
Attackers are quicker now. The passing of the ball is more on
But
point.
Speaking
even
of-
saying that, the
Right.
teams he manages, they're good teams. So like Tottenham, the Tottenham team he took was not a bad team. They got to a Champions League final, hadn't they? So you know they're not.
Yeah, Pochettino took him to the. They lost
Yeah.
to Liverpool.
He
I think.
They're
overachieved.
not.
Yeah.
Oh,
But they're
no,
not
and he
a bad
did. And
team.
what made me really sort of like pleased for him, I guess, is that everyone thought he was underachieving. They thought he should have won something, and yet as soon as he stepped
Yeah.
away, it dropped away. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh no, he lifted them up.
Yeah,
Oh.
You need to appreciate, and people
Yeah.
didn't at the time.
yeah, and I think they actually sounded him out, didn't they? After sacking Mourinho, even though he was at PSG, they apparently
tried to get him
approached him,
back.
and he apparently
Yeah.
wouldn't even return their call.
No.
I don't blame him, to be honest. But so, what do we think of Liverpool this season? How do we think they're looking?
They're doing
Not as good as Chelsea.
I don't know. They're looking
I
all
think
right.
people are overhyping Chelsea,
Yeah,
if I'm honest.
I agree.
I don't know.
I think Lukaku is obviously a born to score, goal scorer. He's always going to score goals. But I've seen no change in his touch. Or
No, nothing to do with. For me, it's nothing to
Um,
do with Lukaku. Even from last year when Tuchel came in,
just the way they
they
play.
just tightened up.
I
They
still.
just looked.
He's
a bit,
made Kovacic look like a better player, to be fair.
and that's
to
it.
him.
That midfield where I always used to think, oh, really, what's the point of having all the
Somehow he's made
Kovacic
it
and
work.
Jorginho and all the? And
Yeah.
actually, it's like
Yeah.
shit. They actually look like a decent fucking team.
Yeah.
And that's just before. And then Lukaku comes in and adds the goals, and it's like
I mean, Chelsea. They'll be up there this year.
it'll be
Yeah.
a tight thing.
But
I think
I'm
it'll be
looking forward
tight.
to it. But I think Tuchel's overhyped as well.
Oh, do you know what?
I
I was
don't
actually
know.
I was going to say that I think there's a discussion to be had who's better out of Tuchel and Pep.
The problem is Tuchel hasn't done anything. I mean, he won the Champions League last year. No, but what I
He
mean is,
hasn't done nothing.
what I mean is that's all he's done. What I mean is that's all he's done.
Well,
Like,
he's won leagues with PSG.
This is
yeah,
gonna,
but
this is
anyone
gonna.
could do that. You could go up.
I
there
know,
and
but
do
you know
that.
what?
Didn't he do all right at
Last year,
Tottenham?
He
Lille
never
won.
won the league or nothing.
No,
The only thing he won was the
last
Oh,
year.
fair enough. I'll back
No,
down.
no,
on
but
that
last
one. I just
season-
thought it was worth
You say
throwing it
anyone
out
can win
there.
it. Last season, Lille won the league on.
Exactly.
No, but I love that
Yeah,
it
yeah.
just became like the Monty Python sketch. You're like, what has Tuchel won? Well, the Champions. Well, other than the Champions League, other than
No, but he did it with a Chelsea
We need
team
to
that were
clip that.
already in it. Like, I mean, we know
So let me ask you this
we
then,
know
do
any
you-
team
do
can win
you
the Champions
do
League.
you buy into the whole thing of giving Lampard any of the credit for that Champions League victory?
Absolutely not.
No.
No, because they
not.
would
Good.
not have won the Champions
Course
League
not.
if he was still
Good.
the manager.
No.
They won it because Tuchel came in and, as you said, tightened them up,
Yeah.
got the midfield working, and then they got so fucking lucky in that final that Kai Havertz finally decided
Yeah.
to turn up to Chelsea.
But what
I
I'm
think
saying,
what I-
and because Pep made that big mistake. Like,
Yeah, and that as
Yeah.
well.
What I'm
Pep
saying is Di
choked.
Matteo's gone to Chelsea and
But
done that. Like,
What I would
Yeah.
say
Nothing
is
special,
Tuchel
like-
keeps getting the better of Pep, isn't he? Since being
quite
at
a few
Chelsea.
managers get the better of Pep.
They
though.
seem to nowadays. I think he's definitely lost some of his mystique.
I'll tell you this: there's something about the Premier League I think that wears managers down,
But
Yeah.
it seems
and I
to be
think it's doing it with
I
Pep.
think it's a pattern with Pep in general because he said
Yeah,
he
round
needed a
about
break
the
after-
third or fourth year, he
Yeah.
starts to.
Yeah.
Normally by year 5 he's done. He's like, that's it, I'm off.
But what was I going to say? So we were talking about the Champions League. We were talking about Chelsea.
We were talking about Liverpool
So
originally.
what?
Yeah.
No,
we
but
didn't
what I
really
say,
talk much about it. But yeah.
what the thing I
Is
just
there
quickly the
anything
thing
to
I
say?
the
I'm
thing
a
I
little
like
worried, I
about
must admit.
the thing I like about Chelsea with Tuchel was that he came in, and as much as I really like that Lampard was actually giving the kids a chance,
Yeah.
he came in and he saw up to Maury and Gilmore and that, and he
But
was like, look,
let's-
I want to win things.
and also
You are
let's-
not going to win things.
Let's call a spade a spade. Frank Lampard, that season he got appointed, had there not been a transfer ban, we all know
He
would
wouldn't have been
not
appointed.
have been appointed. He got
No.
appointed because it kept the fans happy and it was a story to talk about
Yeah.
instead of the fact
Liverpool,
they'd
I
had a transfer
think.
ban.
I think the Liverpool thing for me is there seems to be a real thing of Klopp wants to promote from within,
Yeah.
and it's like
I
just don't think you win with that. I mean, he does
I
buy
don't think
things.
that's actually his policy. The club
No,
doesn't.
Well,
have
they
but
don't,
this
we
is-
don't have the money, no.
That's
this
all
is-
it is.
This is the thing. I think you had a great 1-11 the year you know when you won the league and whatever, and
Yeah,
it was
the
a great.
Champions League.
Yeah.
But don't worry about that. That's nothing.
No, the Champions League is nothing. We
Yeah.
Ash has told us that it doesn't mean shit to win the Champions League.
Well, no. What I meant was managers have come in and won the Champions League.
To be
with-
fair, Roberto
that
Di
before.
Matteo's done it before.
Exactly. Like,
But
are you comparing him
it's
to
still-
Tuchel? No, because I mean,
No,
it's
because
Di Matteo.
af-
Like,
let's be fair, because afterwards Di Matteo did fuck all. Whereas if Tuchel
Yeah, but
goes on to do more,
he didn't go.
if he
and
wins the league this season,
Oh,
then
but well,
Oh,
then
if he
then
wins,
then
then-
Ash will then Ash will
Yeah.
tell us that it
Then
don't
you're
mean shit to
giving
win the league.
credit.
no, because
he fluked the Champions League,
Well,
is what Ash is
no,
saying,
because-
or it's flukeable.
no,
is what
you
he's
guys
saying.
are taking this all.
It'll be like, it'll be like, well,
No,
Ranieri
This
won
is
the
a good
league. It don't mean
episode.
shit.
I love this sort of thing. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's like what was it? Benitez took Liverpool. We know anyone can win the Champions League.
Yeah, but
That
let's be
Liverpool
honest,
team
that
that won it
Liverpool
was
team-
shocking.
Some of it was shocking.
No, all of it was. Well,
no,
apart
you
from
had Javi
Gerrard.
Alonso. Didn't you have Javi Alonso then?
Yeah, so we had a good
Torres?
centre mid.
No,
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 not Suarez.
it was like
No, this
fucking
was still
hell.
Milan
Barros.
Barros.
We had
Barros,
Milan
yeah.
Barros. I'll tell you
Yeah.
the squad. So in goal was Dudek,
Steve Finnan.
Steve Finnan right back, Jimmy Traore left
Please
back.
tell me Sammy Hippier was there.
We had Carragher and
Carragher,
was
mate, he
it
was a
was it
liability.
Hoopier? I remember Biscan started.
Yeah.
Harry Kewell, Vladimir Smitsa was in
Yeah,
there.
Smitsa scored.
Dietmar Hamann was 34 or something.
No, he came on at half time, didn't he, Haman? I think. He came
but
on at half time.
Yeah, because we were leaking goals.
Yeah. But
We had Barros up front.
and to be fair, that
They-
AC Milan team was lit back then.
Oh mate,
Exactly.
Ronaldinho, Kaká.
Herbo, they had, who was it up front? Inzaghi. They had
Yeah, like
Didu in
Ronaldinho,
goal.
Kaká. and shit. Honestly, it was a
Yeah.
Nesta.
That team should have
Filthy
destroyed
team.
us.
Who
Yeah.
was Maldini, Nesta,
Yeah.
Perla, mate, Zambrotta, all those sorts
Crespo.
of.
I mean, it
Mate,
was
John,
ridiculous.
do you know
Kaká
what?
was there.
Shevchenko up front, back
Oh,
when
mate.
Shevchenko
Well,
was still a good
we're at
player.
the point now as well where we've progressed to the point as fans where players that we grew up with, their kids are now playing. And do you want
I
to feel
know.
really old?
David Beckham's son just made his debut, didn't he?
Ian Wright's grandson now
Shut
playing in the
up.
reserves at Stoke.
Oh no.
Yeah, but to be
I
fair,
mean, it's a shit league and a shit team, but he's starting to make his break.
Yeah.
So it's like Sean Wright Phillips,
Yeah.
and Sean Wright Phillips was like the young one. It was like, oh, Ian Wright's kid's playing. It's like,
But-
wow, I feel, but and now
but
he's
anyway,
fucking kid.
I do feel like we've deviated a little bit. Let's
Yeah,
just go back
Liverpool.
to Liverpool for a moment, just to
Yeah.
cover them properly.
Just
But
because no one
ju-
wants to spend much time
yeah.
in Liverpool, I
Yeah.
just can't help that.
Even me, and I'm a fan. But no, that's what I mean with the Chelsea thing.
Yeah.
Tuchel winning the Champions League. Like
But
teams
every-
with lesser teams have won the Champions
I
League.
worry about
Yeah,
Liverpool
they have,
every
that's fair.
with every
Uh,
transfer window that comes and goes. I worry about Liverpool.
Oh, Liverpool
because
moving
Van
backwards.
Dijk proved that an injury to that 1-11,
We've got an aging squad
and
as well.
suddenly it looks like you're not going to even qualify for
Yeah.
the Champions League.
Well, African Cup of Nations is going to be an issue because Mane, Salah, and Chiesa will be gone. So I'm not looking forward to that period.
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really.
I mean, we might get lucky. It might be in the summer. I don't actually know.
Because I remember in the a few years ago when Liverpool were, when they threw away the second time they threw away the big lead, and I seem to remember that Liverpool, they were fighting on all fronts and they looked like it was like, the quadruple, the triple, could they do it? Then you had the African Cup of Nations and your African players went away to the Cup of Nations, came back and it was like, fuck me, we're not in the FA Cup, we're not in Europe, and we've dropped points in the league. It's like,
Yeah.
fuck me, I left and we were on for a treble, I've come back and we're on for fuck
Yeah,
all.
It's not good.
Yeah.
I am worried.
Like,
I
if
think
that
we're,
fucked you.
I think
we're going to
what-
tail off. We'll finish top four,
I
but
think
we'll
what's
tail
really
off.
missing from your squad, to be honest, is a really good striker. I know it doesn't necessarily suit your system, but I can't decide whether your system is because you don't have a main striker or because you don't want a main striker.
Oh, I think
don't
what's missing from your squad is back up to any of those key positions.
Well, they need back
We-
up across the pitch, like everywhere, not just the squad's just not deep enough.
Well, our
No.
defence
But
is
sadly,
now.
they just don't have the money, and the owners aren't
No.
willing to spend money the club
We-
doesn't have.
We spend what we bring in.
I think you give it another 2 years, I think you'll have your spending power back again once you've had fans consistently back in the stadium.
I don't
and
think that's going to make a
football
difference.
revenues. I think it'll make a little bit of a
'Cause
difference.
it was the same
I think
beforehand.
you'll go from before you had normally about 100 million a season to spend. I would say
We used to sell close to that, though.
true, but I think that's not.
I mean,
there's
we
no
sold
reason,
Solanke for 20
I think
mil,
there's
I
no
mean.
reason to think
That
you
is
won't
that
still
is
do
a great con.
but they did it with loads of players. Brewster at
Oh, that's a
United.
fucking
Jordan
con as
Ibe.
well. Jordan Ibe, yeah,
There's
con.
loads of them.
You're like fucking
um,
second-hand car
No,
salesman.
but I do feel like the Jordan Ibe one, what I would say is I listened to him interviewed and he was quite candid about his time at Bournemouth. And he said, and this is one of the flaws I've heard repeatedly about Eddie Howe from players, unless you were one of his core players that were with him from the start at Bournemouth, if you didn't hit the ground running, you were pretty much done. And so because he didn't like scorch earth from the get-go, it just didn't work out for him.
Yeah.
And he ended up just not getting played, and I think he had attitude problems as well, to be fair, which he admitted to. But yeah, but I think you need more. You have really good midfielders, but it just doesn't seem to work. Like Thiago seems like an absolute con, and he was one of the best
He looks a
midfielders
bit.
in the
He
world.
does look a bit better this season. I will give him
Yeah.
that
It
credit.
usually takes
I
players
will
a
give him that
season to bed into
Sometimes.
our
Adjust to
level,
the
so-
league.
Sometimes, yeah.
Let me ask you just to move away from the Premier League then, because I don't want it to be all focused on the Premier League. Who do you think's going to win? Who do you think's on to be promoted from the Championship?
Fulham.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think they
think
look
Fulham's
nailed on. at the
nailed
I'm
on.
moment.
so glad they got rid of Scott Parker. Fuck, I hated that guy. The
Yeah,
way
well,
he
he
played.
went-
No,
It's
Mark
funny
Silver
he
came in and was
jumped
like,
ship
I
for
forgot
Bournemouth.
about this guy.
Yeah.
Because they would have kept him, wouldn't they? They offered him a new contract. He
Yeah.
said no.
Thank
and
God for
wanted to
Bournemouth. That's all I can
fuck
say.
off to Bournemouth, and I think he obviously thought he was going to have more control over the signings and things like that. I don't think because you've got what's his face, Marco Silva, haven't you?
Yeah.
I think he's a bit of a con artist, though. I'll give him his due at the moment.
The way he's
But
got
I
them
don't think
playing
he's
is
done
good.
enough in his career. Like I remember when he got appointed at Everton, it was like, how have you got this far? Like
Because he almost kept Howe.
And Everton, Carlo
because
Ancelotti.
they scored a couple of decent goals, and that was it.
Yeah,
but
Ancelotti at Everton.
Who else is looking? I mean,
Yeah.
we must mention Derby. Well, 'cause
Yeah,
this is the
sad
subject
stuff.
I would like to talk about. Is so just to talk about the Derby situation quickly, as people may or may not know, they've gone into administration
And they live in Derby.
and they live in
Yeah.
Derby.
I mean,
And the way that's happened is basically they had an owner that was financing them for several years now, and he spent and spent and spent and spent, and he's even done things like he sold the stadium to himself to raise money for the club so that they wouldn't get a points deduction, which they've now got. They're going to get 12 points deducted, apparently.
that's already been done.
Has it already been
They
done?
could
that-
get
that's
another
been
9
issued.
now.
Fuck,
Yeah.
But the reason being is basically they were bringing in a revenue of, I think it was 29 million a year, and they were spending 50.
I think
on
it
wages.
shows the ambition of Derby as well, because they went down with the lowest ever Premier League points tally, and now they're going for the lowest ever Championship points tally.
Oh, mate, really, the people I feel sorry for are
The fans, yeah,
man,
100%.
It's just because as Palace fans, I mean, I wasn't a Palace fan when it happened for Palace, to be fair, but you were, so you know what it's like. The club were on the brink of falling apart.
Yeah, and I think for Palace as well, it was the same thing that had happened 10 years earlier, and it was like, really, we've ended up in the same fucking position.
Yeah. And I just think it's a very sad story. I think they're a big club. They've got real pedigree.
You sound like a manager interviewing for the position. You're like, huge club. I've always wanted to manage
Derby.
it.
Do you
I've
know
always
what?
wanted
I'd
to play
take 'em
here.
over. I'd get the youngsters in. But to be fair, I think Rooney's handled the situation quite well. Apparently, the Derby fans are quite fond of him.
Yeah.
What do we think of Rooney as a manager so far? Just while we're
He's been handed a shit card.
yeah,
I don't envy him at all.
no,
He hasn't lit the world alight though.
No,
No,
but
he
I don't
hasn't,
think
but then
we
he's
can
not-
judge him from his time at Derby.
no, because he's not ever had the chance to build his own team. Like at least Lampard, while he was there, he had money put behind him. That was still when Mel Gibson, I think the owner is called of Derby, he was still putting money in at the time. I might
Just to
have
be clear,
completely-
different Mel Gibson.
Yeah, it's not as in
Sure it is
Braveheart,
Mel
Mel Gibson. No, they don't have a wife beater as
Well,
an owner.
he's bringing men out of retirement now. Like he's got Jagielka there and Curtis Davis.
What, has he actually got them?
Yeah, he signed them. They're the centre-back pairing. I think
Jesus.
Morrison plays there, Ravan Morrison.
Jagielka must be
Jesus.
nearly 40 now. He must be 39. And Curtis Davis must be similar.
They've got very aging squad. They had to bring in a load of freebies
That's
last
quite
year.
a success though, because I genuinely thought Jagielka was just going to see out his career at Sheffield United. He was at that age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he probably is like he's going to get regular playing time at
So
Derby.
do we think Sheffield United are going to come back up?
No, I think they've turned it around recently.
Yeah.
In the last couple of weeks, they've found a bit of form.
What about West Brom? They've got a new manager. I can't remember his name. But he was from
West
They'll
Brom,
probably
West
come
Brom,
back
I
up.
like for going up.
Annoyingly,
I fancy West Brom.
I'd rather
Yeah,
them stay
anyone
down
else?
there. But the problem is it's hard. Once you get to the playoff places, like West Brom and Fulham should go up automatically.
Yeah,
But then
agreed.
after that,
It will
anyone's
change,
game
and
pretty
someone will drop, someone will push.
What do we think about the teams that did go up last season so far? So we've got Brentford, Norwich, and Watford.
So pleased for Brentford.
I really
So
like
pleased.
Brentford, man. Like, and I was reading up about them because they don't like it if you say this. They think it's an oversimplification, but they sort of follow the Moneyball way of thinking, which is basing your signings on stats and analysis rather than necessarily what you see on the pitch. And their owner's actually only worth $3 million. He got the club through a deal when he had the money.
You say only
No,
like
but let's
shit.
be
Like,
honest, in
I don't
terms
want
of,
3 million. There's no
like,
point giving me that. It's
Even in
nothing.
League One now, or even League Two, you would expect an owner to have a lot of money behind them. And in the Premier League now, most owners are worth
Well,
hundreds.
it just puts
even
into
Aston
it
Villa's
just puts
manager
into
is
context
worth
the money in
billions.
football. Because if you
No,
offer
no,
me
but
3
like-
million, I wouldn't go. Oh, I don't know. That's not a lot, is it? So you can keep that.
To be honest, if you're talking
not
about
a lot
in
now.
today's society, 3 million isn't a lot
No,
of
it's
money.
not a lot now.
And that's a real sad thing to say. But yeah, but they've obviously been a huge success story, and I think they've been brilliant so far in the league.
Yeah, and I think
Toney has
who do we
been-
think other than Arsenal who's going down?
well, obviously Norwich.
See,
I think Norwich are going to try for Derby's league low
I just don't see him
of
doing well.
11.
But I was reading that they're basically happy with going up and down, up and down, up and down. The money they make from it, and they don't invest too much of that money, so it gets to sit in a
No,
bank
but sometimes
account.
sometimes you need a bit of that. You need to just build up some stability and financial
And
stability.
what they want to do is keep accruing decent players that are good at Championship level and decent at Premier League level that won't want to leave when they go down.
The
so they
problem
can
is like
keep-
teams like that are so boring.
It is boring because
just get rid of them.
you know, like. But then to be honest, I mean, talking of Arsenal, they have looked so bad in general, haven't they? Like even when they've come up against a Norwich, or
They've won their last couple.
yeah, but just like
Yeah.
they didn't necessarily deserve to win.
I expect them to be mid-table.
And I would just like a bit of appreciation because I remember when we were sat here, it must have been over a year ago now. I said Arsenal should flog Aubameyang while they still could because I said he was going to turn shit.
I don't remember
And
you
he
saying
has.
that.
I fucking did.
I remember you singing
Guys,
his
you go back to
praises.
the last football episode.
Hey, I'm
I
pretty sure you were saying to give him a 5-year deal.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
you were like, he's going to score 30 goals.
Like
a
I didn't
season,
also mention
guaranteed.
United would get in the
No,
top four.
I think to be
and they did.
to be fair on the
Of course.
Aubameyang front, and I'm not I'm not like disagreeing with you, but I think you can't. You know, he's by far and away not the. If they'd have sold him, that wouldn't have been like, oh, well, now we're all right. You know,
I'm not saying that solves their
Now
problem.
we see the light.
But they've now got a player that's on 300 grand a week who's a shadow of what he was a year ago.
Yeah, but is that Arsenal or Arteta?
I think it's him and Arteta.
But Arteta was the main man under Pep, wasn't he? He was the reason
reason
Pep was
behind it.
successful.
I've never ever understood the hype of Arteta. Like he's won a FA Cup and I still think he's dog shit. Like,
He has got some good hair.
Like, yeah, he's a good looking bloke, wonderful. But like I never understood why. Like I remember at the time Ancelotti was available, wasn't he? And they signed Arteta and Ancelotti went to Everton, and you just think. Like it feels like at Arsenal, they still get a lot of attention more than anything because of the popularity of people laughing at their fans rather than any real interest in the club. But it feels like everything from top to bottom is wrong at that club.
It's not a well-run club.
From
No, I
director
think
level to
they're on a
football director.
they're on a similar level to Newcastle in the sense that
It feels hopeless
nothing
for
will
them.
change until they have an overhaul at the top.
And I don't blame Arteta.
They
for
can
the
change
state-
managers, they can change players.
I think
Doesn't matter.
If I had this information, I could judge Arteta more fairly. How much impact has he had on the signings? Like in
I
terms
think
of,
that's all Edu.
is it all Edu?
Yeah,
Because
that's all Edu.
if he has anything to do with it whatsoever, if he even agreed to them, I would hold him responsible as well because
I'm not sure how Edu
It's
got
been
that
bad,
job.
man. I mean,
Fuck knows how Edu got that job.
Ramsdale has looked okay for them so far when he played the other day, but beyond that, I would.
He looked good
Honestly.
at Sheffield United, though.
When Edu
Yeah.
got
He
that
was
job,
getting peppered, but
it kind of made me think maybe I should just start applying for jobs that
Mate.
I'm never going to fucking
But
get.
can we talk about Ben White for a second? Because
Waste.
thank you. And I know we're Palace fans, so we're biased. He came from, but who on God's green earth, especially when Varane's getting signed for 30 million, you going 50 for Ben?
Yeah.
No, but I know he's a bit.
we
I
got
know,
Fernante for
I know,
36.
I know he's a bit younger and he's English and whatever. but that would be like if
it's
at
like
a
2
Palace,
years younger.
I would absolutely rip the shit if someone came in and gave us like 35 million for Koyate. I'd be like,
Yeah.
really? Yeah, fucking have it, mate. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it
Dreadful.
wasn't.
You know,
Well, I mean,
like-
you look at Arsenal; they spent the most money, and then you look at their signings, and you're like, "What a waste!"
Yeah.
I bet you any
And
money
it feels
Brighton.
like there's no direction there. It's like they went, right, our defence is shit, so we'll sign Brighton's
I'll-
centre back for 50
I'll
million.
guarantee
I
you,
just-
Brighton disconnected the phone after making that sale. There was no refunds on that.
They weren't waiting
They
for
never
any
had
just-
the
yeah.
phone
They should
again.
never.
I bet it was like, so what do you value Ben White at? And Brighton are like, oh, you know, they're like 50 million. And they're like, okay.
It's one of those where I reckon they would have been like, "Yeah, we'll take 30, 50." Oh,
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
I'll take 50.
Yeah, we'll,
We'll
yeah,
be
we'll,
happy
we'll,
with
we'll
30.
take
Yeah.
35. We'll give you 40.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we'll accept 50. We'll give you 50 million
But-
for him right now. Like, oh, yeah, I guess.
yeah.
So just to go back to Arteta for a minute, what do we think of him? Because we've joked about it a little bit. What do we think of him as a manager?
Not good enough. I also
Mid-table
think
at best.
it's hard to just again because of
I
the
don't think
situation
he's
at
a
the
Premier
top.
League manager.
not-
No, you can't go from.
I don't think there's
coaching.
any evidence. Like, I know he won the FA Cup, but that's sort of an Arsenal thing to do. It's not uncommon for them even in today's times.
I think he could easily become a journeyman manager based on his reputation under Pep.
I think you'll see him in China soon, to be honest. Or he'll end up back assisting Pep somewhere. I don't think he acts it as a manager.
I don't get the fascination with clubs bringing in these ex-players as their first job.
It's
No,
difficult because
no.
there's some of the people with obviously the most football experience out there, but obviously no experience coaching.
I liked the old
I
school
think
method.
Arsenal got sold a kipper by Arteta's representatives that he was this Pep light. I
Yeah.
think like he was
He was-
the
Well,
chosen.
he was
I
why
like-
Pep was
I
so
like the
successful.
old-
Because there was rumours, to be fair to Arteta, that if Pep was to leave, the plan was Arteta took over. Because originally it was why they put Vieira at New York, if I remember correctly, Man City, because they saw something in him and then weren't quite as impressed, and then they moved on to Arteta.
Well, no, but I was going to say I liked the old school method of you get your badges, then you start out as an assistant somewhere in like the Championship or maybe the
Yeah.
Premiership, but you're an assistant. Then you get your first gig down in the lower leagues, League 2, League 1, league football,
Yeah.
but the lower end, and
Like a
then
Sol
you work
Campbell
your way
has
up.
done.
Yeah.
And Sol Campbell, I think, has done such a good job as a manager since he started managing,
And
and he's
still
not
isn't
been
getting
given the
jobs.
opportunities. And I think it's
criminal.
an absolute
And
robbery.
I'm sorry, it's very difficult. And I
not
wasn't
to, it's
expecting
not
to
to
talk
play the race card.
Yeah, it's impossible not to. It's
I mean,
impossible
things
not
he's
to.
done
Part
at
of
the
me
clubs
thinks
he's been
maybe
at.
it's his attitude.
Yeah, there are things that he's quite an eccentric man and he's very outspoken. But if he was, let's be honest, like if he was Wayne Rooney, if he was Wayne Rooney's colour of the skin, he's had an equally successful career. Or even John Terry. Let's go John Terry. I know he hasn't been given any jobs yet, but he's been linked with them. Sol Campbell's not even in the conversation. He can't even get through the door.
And the thing he's done at some of the clubs he's been at, under the circumstances he's had
like
at those clubs.
Southend, he was fantastic.
I mean, Macclesfield, what he did
Yeah.
there with the resources and the situation
Yeah.
was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm being naive, I can only assume it's people up top not seeing what they want, seeing something in him that isn't.
Yeah, imposing something on him that
Yeah.
isn't there.
But it's hard from the outside when you look at the cold,
Not to
hard
see,
light
not to
of
see it because he's black.
Yeah, it's really difficult when you see Lampard getting the Chelsea job.
Well, this is the thing. So if
know.
the fact
Yeah,
that
but
Gerrard's
that was
no, but the
not really.
Well, Arsenal didn't go out and go for Sol Campbell, did they?
no, that's the point, though, isn't
No,
it?
but I think
Yeah,
the fact
but
that-
is there an underlying reason? Not just because he's black.
no, but I think the fact that
Well, why
Gerrard.
didn't they go for? They could have gone for Vieira. Arsenal, they didn't.
Well, I think Gerrard went straight from
Maybe
the
they
under
wanted
23s.
Or Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry's gone into management.
Yeah, but he wasn't very good. He went to Monaco. He was dreadful.
Yeah, but Arteta's. This is my point. Arteta's not got
very good.
anything behind him to prove that he's any good,
Well,
other than the fact he
That's
worked
what
with Pep Guardiola.
I think. That's the main reason. Everyone thought he was the Messiah.
No, but I think never mind. But like I said, but never mind the the
I'm
old
not
club
trying to
thing.
make you out to be a racist,
Oh no,
by the way.
I'm just trying to play the other side of the
No,
ball.
no, that's fine.
Like,
That's
But
why I
I
just wanted
think
to clear
the
that
fact
up.
it would have been, we wouldn't have thought as much of it, other than the fact that Gerrard he was an under-23s manager, and then he got a job at Rangers.
Yeah.
Lampard was nothing, and he got a job at Derby. And you're
Yeah.
thinking, well, hang on a minute, this guy's had jobs,
Yeah.
done well. Why is he not in the conversation?
Yeah.
honestly, don't know.
No, and I know you. I know
Yeah,
you were
it's
just playing
just-
devil's advocate, but
You know, I think it might have to get to a stage where I can see BAME candidates, so black and ethnic minority candidates,
Maybe
having
England
to
should
name
give him a
and
job.
shame clubs. And to be
I
honest
wouldn't
with
be
you,
against it.
a
at the
few
moment.
years ago, I was really against the Rooney Rule being introduced, but I think we're going to have to get to a point where just to get these guys through the door of buildings, it's going to have to be introduced because it's not. I don't think it's being done fairly.
No, it's not being done fair. It from the outside.
No, like for me, I can't see why Sol Campbell's never been involved in the England setup as a coach or anything like that.
For me,
and that's
I'd
not to
have
throw
been,
shade on Southgate.
but
'cause
given
got
what he's
Chris
done,
Howe and
when Southgate
people
went
like
out,
that, so
I'd have bought him. Given that Southgate started at the under-21s, I'd have
Yeah.
bought someone like Campbell in
Oh,
at the under-21s,
and he
priming him
he
to
may-
get ready to take up.
he may
the main
well
job.
have, and he has got Chris Powell working with him quite closely.
I mean, he could have been the replacement for Eddie Boothroyd.
Yeah,
Because he was
absolutely.
dreadful.
Oh,
Boothroyd.
mate,
Absolutely.
To be honest,
That was a
how he
disaster.
got the under-21s
That's
job,
such
I
a
have no
disaster.
idea.
But it's not. It's not just
Because there was
No.
talks that he was being groomed to one day take over from Southgate, wasn't there?
like great,
Thank
a
God
failed
that
Watford manager taken in.
Yeah, well, Southgate's a failed Middlesbrough manager, so
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
didn't he make the semi-finals or the quarter-finals of the European Cup?
yeah, but that's nothing, mate.
No, fair enough.
We've established that's nothing.
That's a
He
phenomenal
didn't get to
throwback.
the final even, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Phenomenal throwback.
Mate, like, teams have done it. Ajax did it. Like,
But
you act like it's impossible and only big clubs get there.
Okay, well, look,
Like,
well,
just
no,
to-
look. Obviously, only big clubs don't get there.
just
Um,
using Ajax as my bouncing point. I know something else you wanted to talk about was clubs that you don't support, but you have a particular affinity towards.
Yeah.
So, an European, in terms of the European scale, Ajax are one of those. The way they play, I always
I hadn't even
Not
really
always.
thought of a foreign team, to be honest.
no, but not always.
Um,
But generally, I quite like them. So when they were making the semi-finals and whatever the Champions League in the last couple of years, it was like I quite like them. I mean, they've taken people like Tadic and like Tadic's players that I sort of like, and I thought he was a dick at Southampton. But there
They've
you
got
go.
an incredible coaching structure at Ajax. You can't diss their ability to get the best out of players and develop them at whatever stage
But-
of their career.
But domestically, Brentford definitely in the league. Leeds were, but less so this season. They feels
Yeah.
like they've had a bit of a
can't
second
stand
season
Leeds.
problem. And then I would say Fulham. I was quite like Fulham. I'm always kind of rooting for them.
Yeah,
And do you know
because
what? I
I've
don't
been to
mind
some
West Ham.
I
I mean, I
think-
don't necessarily. Some of their fans.
To be
I'm not always
honest with
keen on,
you,
but
their fans are a bit of a joke.
their
to be
I'm
honest
not always
with you.
keen on some of their fans.
I will quite happily
But-
throw it out there. I think their fans are just Tim Pot, mate. It's
I'm put off a lot of clubs
embarrassing.
because of their fans.
like they
Yeah, I
only
get
chant one song. They come at the Palace fans with shit about like, oh, we signed the players that don't want to go to you, and it's like, yeah, because you're
I'll
willing
tell you
to
what
pay
was
them
good
double,
though,
mate. So
is
by all
that
means,
in the
you
Champions
pay
League.
Jared Bowen nearly $100,000 a
Well,
week. Please
in the
do.
Champions League, Sebastian Haller scored a hat trick.
He
Yeah,
scored 4, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
yeah, dreadful at West Ham, but I think to be honest, the way they were playing at the time wasn't good.
Moyes has turned them
Um,
into something else.
Yeah, they're a completely different type of team now. And to be honest with you, if you gave me the choice between Mikel Antonio up top or Sebastian Haller, I
Oh,
know who
man.
I'm choosing.
Fucking
I'm
what a
having
beast. I
Mikel
love Mikel
Antonio.
Antonio.
Oh, all day.
I love him.
Every day of the week. Sebastian Haller had like a full season up front as the main man.
My
at West
favourite
Ham.
thing about Antonio as well is that he never gives up on a ball.
No.
Like a ball is dead, it's gone, and most
But
players will be
like,
like,
I
fuck it,
remember
but he will
watching-
fucking chase that shit down.
remember-
He should be in the England setup.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against that.
Yeah, I think he definitely has a role to play. I just think it's very difficult with the wealth of talent we have attackingly to.
There's
No,
a,
but
there's
like
a real
backup-
focus on.
it.
A backup for Kane. Like,
There's a real focus on young
Yeah.
players,
I mean,
Yeah,
and
there's
he's
Bamford,
not
but
young.
Yeah.
like-
but we don't even pick. Did we pick Bamford?
yeah, but he
Bamford
didn't-
got a
he
call up
doesn't
recently.
play.
Oh, okay. No, but he wasn't at the Euros,
Made his
was
debut.
he?
No, he wasn't at the
I've not
Euros.
been
No, he
watching
wasn't
the
at
recent
Euros.
stuff because, as I've mentioned on the pod before, I'm boycotting the next World Cup, so I've not been watching any of the qualifiers. So I'm not aware of.
But what
who they're
about
picked.
Ash? Who are the clubs that you have a particular affinity to? And it could be domestically or internationally.
Well, mine's Fulham. You know that. You know Fulham are my second club.
I would, to be honest with you, I would say I would arguably say nowadays they're probably closer to your first club than your second.
I do. I would rather for them to do well than Liverpool.
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah, I've liked Fulham over the years because we've been to quite a few games.
yeah.
Cottage.
It's a nice little place down there. That's the new stand. That's good.
Oh, that new stand looks amazing.
Yeah, it does.
I'm going to get my ticket in the pool on the roof.
My domestic teams that I have.
You can't expect the players to focus while you're up there looking sexy as shit behind them. Do you know what I mean? That's just not fair.
Hopefully, it's an infinity pool where you can just see through it. Like,
yeah.
Standing
Just
there
watch
rubbing
it.
yourself
See
down with baby
everything.
oil afterwards, and they're
We've
all
se-
like, oh.
they'll have a shower.
It'll be
up there as well.
magnified
It's
in
like-
the water as well.
Players all running around. I'll tell you what, it'd sort the handball problem, though, because they'd all be hiding their bonus.
But yeah, my domestic teams I like Portsmouth because it's where
Interesting.
my dad came from, and I liked them when there was a period where they had like a really good team where they had David
You're
James,
talking about Cranch
Distan, Sol Campbell, they had Defoe, Crouchy, all that Crankjar,
Yeah,
Pedro Mendes.
the Redknapp boys.
Yeah, the Redknapp team.
Such a good
I
team.
loved the Portsmouth Redknapp
Yeah,
team.
I liked them.
And yeah, so
Even when they sound like Benjani, just from sitting, he was
Benjani
still
was
quite good.
I
good
loved
for
it
them.
when he made him go. When he made
Yeah,
him go
he
to.
forced
He's
him
like,
onto
boss,
the
I don't
aeroplane."
want to go, and he's like, look, this is 8 mil. You're fucking going. Like,
Yeah. That was during the period where Man City just bought any player, wasn't
Yeah.
it? And then I would say another one is St Johnstone in Scotland. It's where my family come from in Scotland, near that
Yeah,
bit
that
of
I get.
Edinburgh.
That I get.
So I like St Johnstone. Foreign teams, there's not really any. I always used to like Rosenborg in Norway. I just used to like playing them
Really?
on games and stuff. Yeah, don't know why.
interesting.
Yeah,
That is interesting.
I do like Exeter as well.
yeah, and and I also like AFC Wimbledon a little bit, to be honest with you. Not because of anyone I know particularly. In case
I
they
don't know.
listen. It's because it's where my mum grew up in Wimbledon, and she
More of
literally
a-
lived a 10-minute walk from
More of an MK Dons man myself.
Pal Lane.
Yeah, you're out of his friends list. Like,
Yeah. But yeah, if you do
worth
listen
it.
to this, if you know who you are, we love you really.
the only problem
but
I'll
yeah.
say this: the only problem he has is he hates it. He can't take any banter towards
No, he
AFC.
can't. No.
He'll give it, but he just can't take
Oh
it.
no, absolutely.
We love him.
I've
but
witnessed a few meltdowns.
he needs to lighten up a little.
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
When it
Unlike
comes to
AFC,
AFC.
who actually take it quite a lot, but very
And they're
not good
doing
at
all
giving
right,
it.
to be fair to
Yeah.
them this season.
Yeah,
AFC
they're
are
doing
having a
all right. No,
decent
they are
season.
having a decent season.
I just feel sorry for them. They're one of those clubs that as soon as they get a half decent player, because of the way things work in those leagues,
They're gone.
they're on short-term deals and they just leave on a
Yeah,
free.
that's the problem.
And it's such a shame because they miss out, but they can't afford, the clubs at that level and no sort of money can't afford to.
I always heard they were
commit to
referred
longer
to
term.
as the MK Dons franchise club.
Yeah, no, do you know what? I have a bit of affinity for Wimbledon. I mean, I worked there for a little bit, and
Yeah, you did, didn't you? In
I
the
did
club pub.
in the bar, and I also I think I remember do you remember a couple of years ago Lyle Taylor, and I really like Lyle Taylor, and the power was that he went to
Charlton
Charlton,
now?
and
Yeah.
I don't really
No, he's
like
at the
Charlton.
Forest.
Yeah, he's
Forest
moved
now.
it,
Yeah.
but when he went to Charlton, and I was like, I'm not a massive fan of Charlton, obviously a Palace fan, whatever,
Yeah.
but I still wanted him to do well.
He,
I
re-
still kind of liked
he
him.
refused to play at Charlton when they restarted the season up because he didn't want to get injured.
Oh, and they
And
got
he's-
rid of him, didn't they?
His contract was running out,
Mm.
and he was like, "This is my last chance."
Oh,
for
because
the
of
big
that
move."
extension to the leagues, the players had to
Yeah.
agree.
Oh, I'll tell you this
Yeah.
now though,
Yeah, yeah.
Forest are going down,
Oh,
They're
no, I
looking
don't know.
bad.
They've got a new manager now. They
No,
got rid of
he's got-
Hughes.
Oh, they got Steve Cooper in.
But he's
haven't
got
they?
a
They
turn
reckon
around.
he's gonna. Well, they won their last game.
Yeah, I know, but there's a lot to turn around there.
There's a lot of poor clubs in the championship.
I think there's a lot of clubs that just buy random players. It feels like when you look in the championship, just desperate to find something, and they always overpay in the championship. It feels like as well. It's very rare you hear of
I think
a
everywhere
Yeah.
overpaid.
very rare you hear of a bargain in that league. But is there anything else anyone would like to cover? I mean, we could talk about Palace very quickly. Just cover them. So far, I'd say I'm quite happy with
So happy.
Vieira.
I was
He's been
so
doing all right.
hoping there was going to be another.
What upset?
What's his face? The Dutch guy that came in.
Oh, De Boer.
Ronald, not Ronald Koeman.
De
No,
Boer.
Frank
Like,
De
he-
Boer.
Yeah, I was
shit.
so hoping it was going to be another one of those situations.
Have you heard he's retired from management, Frank de Boer?
Has he?
He's
Really?
announced his retirement from management. I don't know what his reasons were. I didn't look into it more than that.
Not
I
being
just,
good enough.
just yeah, proper.
Yeah.
I'd hope so. To be honest with you, I'd respect him more if it was because I've had a shit time of it. Because you'd be like, yeah, fair enough. You've been honest.
Well, apparently, Barca are planning on getting rid of Koeman.
I'm not surprised.
Oh no, Barcelona! I read
They
the
look poor.
Willem Bay piece.
Balagay.
Balagay, yeah, whatever.
Guillem
Balagay.
Did the Sky Sports dude?
And what did you just call him?
I made it up. I've only ever seen it written down. That's not true, actually. I've watched him a few times on telly and I've never paid attention. No, but I saw he did a great... He did a great piece on the current situation at Barcelona, and one of the things that I absolutely fucking loved.
He does love himself, though, Guillem.
The president, though, the current president, I don't know who it is at the moment.
I want to say somebody.
But you know, he literally came in and he said to Frank de Boer, he said to Ronald Koeman, like, look, I don't know if I want you as manager. I'm going to take a few days to decide it, and basically what that means is I'm going to go and see if anyone else better is available. They're not, because they have to pay a huge. I mean, they're poor at the moment. They are broke, and they have to pay a huge payout to Koeman to get him out. But he said he got a load of the so he got but he got a load of the press in, and he told them what his thing was. He's like, I'm going to tell him how he's got to play, I'm going to tell him who he's got to play, and then I'll tell you now, next year, as soon as his contract's up, he's gone. And he told the press this, but he brought them in on an unofficial basis, an off the record meeting. It's like, bro, that is such a sneaky game to play. But
have you heard what Ronald Koeman come out and said? He's come out and said that Barcelona have a future because of him. That he sort of saved the club.
I don't know where he gets his ego.
No, but the thing is, he's the one sitting there being like, okay, but you want me to do it with? I've got no Messi, I've got no money, I've got no.
For me, he's a classic case of he was a quality player, but sadly not a good manager. Yeah. He's just not as good as. Well,
most of the good managers were never really great players.
In some cases, I think that's fair. Pep Guardiola was a high standard player, played at the top level.
But Klopp was lowest.
Cruyff played at the top
changed
level.
the game.
I mean, it's a bit long ago, but I don't know whether Sir Alex was a good.
No, he was a low-level Scottish player.
I mean,
no, lower than Aberdeen. He was playing at
he managed Aberdeen.
Yeah, well, like this is the thing. This is the other thing with like Sir Alex when you talk about him and Pep. Sir Alex won the Champions League. I know it's nothing, mate, but with Aberdeen.
Anyone can win that shit, man.
Do you know what I mean? Sorry, it doesn't mean anything. Sir Alex achieved.
Let's look at one of the best sides that ever played in the Champions League, and they lost to a shocking Liverpool side. That shouldn't have even been there.
They won it a couple of years later.
Yeah.
They got their own back.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'm not sure there's anything else that I want to discuss personally.
No,
Go
I think
Sports,
I'm pretty,
all that.
Pretty happy with that. I think we've had a good laugh and a good chat.
Mostly at Arsenal's expense.
Yeah, I mean, they're just dreadful. Bless them.
So
I'd love
I don't even feel sorry for the fans.
Because of their fans. Because of their fans. There's two reasons that I really want them to go down. One, their fans. There's like, I think maybe one Arsenal fan that I've met in my life that I've been like, you're all right. Every other one, absolute dickhead. Two, the Super League.
Yeah.
The fact that they were part of this, they wanted to be part of this elite Super League that were like, we're too good for the Premier League. If they go down, fucking brilliant.
That was poor, that Super League.
I think that was all handled very badly.
I sort of respect the clubs that came out afterwards, the presidents and the chairman and whatever that came out afterwards and went, I'm still doing it. I sort of begrudgingly respect that because it's like there's no lies.
Yeah, at least they were being honest.
The other clubs still want to do it, but they're coming saying, no, we don't want to do it now. At least they've come out and been like, no,
Chelsea were quite pussies over it, to be honest. They were the first to crack, and they were like, no, we only joined it at the last minute. We weren't really interested.
Well, they said they only joined it because they didn't want to get left behind.
Yeah, which is just such a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it, but I do begrudgingly respect them coming out and saying.
Do you not think it's hypocritical, to be fair, that venture was all to do with money, but what we were protecting was Sky and the Premier League's interest, not necessarily for pure reasons. Maybe on our side it is, but in terms of
they benefit
when you've
from
got
it.
Pundits like Gary Neville, champion having it taken down, but he works for one of the worst organisations in the country in terms of Sky and who owns them and funds them.
Yeah,
I find that a bit hypocritical for him to go out there and pretend to be a champion of the
Sky
people
and
when he's being paid.
Ruined football. I mean, they wonder why there's no younger fans coming in.
BT want to get out of Premier League. They want to sell. They're trying to get Dazan to buy all their rights.
Well, they wanted to buy it a little while ago.
And they're trying to get them to take over their entire operation.
They reckon they might become the Netflix of football.
I think it's good. I think it's a bubble football at the moment. I'm just waiting for... You're seeing it more and more, clubs where they're shooting for the stars, spending money they don't have, and just going under.
It's why I like clubs like Palace and Norwich staying within their means.
Yeah.
And what I can't wait, it's one of the reasons I really appreciate Steve Parish, because I think he's been the champion of keeping the club sensible. But I lost my train of thought now. What was I saying?
Bubble.
Oh yeah, because I just feel like it's getting to a point where there will be a stage where Sheikh Mansour suddenly decides,
Fuck this.
I'm not going to own Man City anymore. Stop funding it, and it's going to go bankrupt, because they don't have, like with United, to be fair to the Glaziers, despite all the debt it has the money to match Mansour with the financial fair play regulations. And that's without any external investment. That is just what United generates. Man City don't have that, and that takes 50 years to develop that level of global.
Another issue is it with the players' wages and agents' wages, or fees, shall I say?
Agents are just
Mina Raiola and people like him are
such a
just
parasite, man.
Yeah. Although to be fair, I think what they've done is very clever. And it will be a good thing in terms of not inflating the market too much, because next season he's available for about 66 million, I think.
Yeah.
Which is obviously a huge sum of money, but he was being talked of 200 million. So because of that, it's obviously going to be deflated, because he is going to leave Dortmund. He's going to go. Where do we think he will go, just quickly?
He'll come to the...
I think he'll go Real Madrid.
I was going to say the Prem, but I reckon La Liga.
I think he'll go Real Madrid.
I reckon he'll end up in La Liga.
See, yeah.
What do you think?
I think there's a chance Barcelona go for him. I think in a year's time,
they
would have regrouped a little bit.
Because Madrid are going to get...
he could be their messiah. That's what I think.
I can see Madrid getting Mbappe next season for free, obviously.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think if Madrid get Mbappe, I don't know whether they can afford to take.
Well, he'll be going there for free.
Yeah, but include the agents' fees. You're probably talking about 30 million for agents' fees, his sign-on fee, and his wages. He's going to be on.
Well, they were willing to. They were willing to pay 180 mil for fucking Mbappe.
No, I know, but they wouldn't have been able to pay that and then sign Haaland. I don't think they'll be able to do it next season.
Mbappe for free. So.
Yeah, they're saving 180 million.
No,
but they're still saving.
Oh yeah, but they're not.
But they're still saving. They're still saving 180 million.
Yeah.
Or 150 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much it was. Quite high though.
But yeah, I thought it was quite funny for Real Madrid to see how far PSG were willing to go with it, wasn't it?
Well, it was over 200 million euros.
Yeah, and they were still saying. I personally think PSG should have taken the money and run.
I'm sorry, but nothing will ever beat the transfer bid of Arsenal when they added the
40 million plus.
They added the
pound.
That just explains everything about their football club, though, doesn't it? And I think that is as good a place as any to end it on the embarrassment that is Arsenal.
On the value of the podcast, £1. No, sorry.
No, we're worth 40 million plus £1.
They're still a big club. How dare you guys?
Wow.
They're going to be the biggest club in the Championship.
What are they going to do this season? Let's give us a prediction that we can end it on.
They'll probably do nothing like win the Champions League or
what
something.
You just said,
something
that doesn't matter.
I'd love it to be relegation.
I would love it relegation.
I reckon I'm gonna actually give a position and say about between 10th and 12th.
I think
you heard it here first.
I think 14th, 15th.
Oh really?
I think they're shocking.
17th. I reckon there's too many teams.
I reckon Burnley finishes above them.
I reckon Burnley. I could see Burnley going down. I hope they go down.
I think going down it's Norwich. I think it's.
Oh, Norwich is definite.
I think it's Norwich, Watford, and Newcastle.
No, Watford are doing.
I don't know. I think Burnley are in trouble.
I could see Leeds even going.
Yeah,
Leeds. They are faltering a little bit. But anyway.
And Southampton.
No, I think they've got Armstrong now. I think they'll manage it.
Possibly. I mean, Ings was keeping them up last year.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be interesting. So I think, to be honest with you, I've really enjoyed this one. I think we should probably try and do football ones a little bit more often.
Well, we know Ash is up for it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not talking about Champions League anymore.
But as always,
we have to block the window out sometimes. Ash just presses his face up against it when we do regular pods.
You might just see his face.
Just see me poking around the corner.
But guys, as always, thank you very much for listening. Your support means the world. The numbers have been.
Can
really
we let Ash read out where to find us?
Oh come on, Ash ain't gonna remember him. Or do you feel
I don't
confident?
know. It's at Crossing Swords or at Swords Crossing, something like that.
Oh, shocking, mate. Not
prepared.
I listened to the pod, but
yeah, you should have memorised it by now.
I already know where
70 episodes. So, guys, it will be on the bottom of the screen as always, and it will be at Crossing. No, so it's at Sword Crossing. At Sword Crossing on Twitter. At Crossing Swords _podcast on Instagram, and CrossingSwords19@gmail.com, and you'll find us on Facebook at Crossing Swords. Also on YouTube, just search for Crossing Swords
and the name of the episode.
And you should find it. And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all of those good things.
Talk to us.
And yeah, talk to us. Let us know what you want, what you think, whether you think Ash is wrong and we're right.
Obviously, we'll be doing,
all of it, mate.
Whether
the Champions League is nothing.
I didn't say the Champions League was nothing.
It's like it's like getting Piers Morgan on the episode. He's going to say something controversial
just to
stir the people up.
To be honest,
you know what? Bring me in for other shit other than football.
I think we should. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, that's when we'll get in trouble. Like
Ash's views on racism.
I honestly could not.
And on that bombshell,
Ash's views on Meghan Markle and Princess Diana.
Could not give a shit.
I'm just going for Piers Morgan here.
No, all right, guys. And on that note, we will see you next time. Thank you.
Ciao.